My paper is complementary to yesterday Professor Deng Yongheng's talk on the housing market. So he looked at the supply side of rising housing price. So our paper mainly focused on the demand side. So our title is Meeting Competition and the Pursuit of Bigger and More Costly Homes. It's a co-author with Zhang Yingwei of Columbia University. For those familiar with China, recently the property price has has risen so fast and high that they have become the subject of soap opera. Recently, one of the most popular TV series called Wuji, literal translation is like dwelling like a snail. It's very popular. People all are concerned about the high housing cost in cities. The ratio of home value to monthly income in 2005 in China is 80. That's compared to 50 in the US, even before its housing crisis. The ratio of home price to monthly rent is about 350 based on our own calculation in 2005. In 2010, the ratio is about 500. In the US, it's 250. So by looking at the numbers, you can see that indeed China's property price is very high compared to its income. You may all know Darwin has two theories. One is the natural selection theory. Another one is the sexual selection theory. According to him, for any species, they have two objectives: survival and reproduction. So reproduction is the most objective for species after survival. So in the animal world, you see a lot of this kind of phenomena. So males always compete to each other to get females. They try to occupy the territories. The winners, the fittest, survive and get all the opportunities of reproduction. So now China, because of the one-child policy, now at the marriage market, there are about, for every 6 months, there are about 5 women available. And because parents in China really want to have their son get married and want to pass the genes, also in rural China they rely on their sons and the daughter-in-laws and the grandchildren to take care of them when they get old. So there's strong incentive for parents with a son to make sure they can get married, make sure they are more attractive in the marriage market. So you can think about the fierce competition in the marriage market. And then nowadays, in the hunter-gatherer society, for marriage, maybe the sorting variable is just your physical strength. If you are taller, you are stronger, you are run faster, you can get a mate. But nowadays, I think the wealth has become a more important positional good in the marriage market. And if housing is a sorting variable in the marriage market, then the rise in the sex ratio would inspire men and their parents to work harder to build or buy a house. So there may be a consequence on China's rising housing price. So this is a major objective we want to test in this paper. First, I gave some anecdotal evidence or some surveys evidence to show that housing ownership is indeed a key positional good in marriage market. There's a newspaper survey recently in Shanghai. 80% of mothers indicate they would object to their daughters marrying a young man who doesn't own an apartment. So there's a newspaper saying that this called 丈母娘抬高房价, the mothers-in-law push up housing price. So in the Chinese newspaper, I always find this kind of sayings. And I just came across another news report recently. There's 2010 marriage market survey, mainly on cities, based on an online survey. 71% of women themselves prefer that the husband to own a house. They also ask men. About half of them also prefer their wife to be owning a house too, although the magnitude is slightly less. It seems in the marriage market, both men and women prefer their husband-to-be or wife-to-be to own a house. So there's a strong incentive for them to buy a house. Now let me move on to some background information on China's marriage market. I talk about the cities. Here I talk about mainly in rural China. So I said before, having a son married is a top concern for rural household. If you ask people around, ask them why they save money, why they want to build a house, almost 100% have the same story. They want to build a house to make sure the matchmaker will bring bride to talk to their family so their son can get married. It's a big concern for them. According to 2000 population census, 87% of marriage still occur within the same county. So most of marriage are still, people still marry locally. And arranged marriage still dominate. The way of working of the marriage market is in rural areas, usually people marry somebody outside their own village. And through the introduction of some marriage matchmakers. I talked to some matchmakers, they all tell the most important visible indicator for wealth is house. If your house is taller and newer than neighbors, the chance of bringing a bride is much higher than others. So the people all know the information. And according to tradition, the groom family are supposed to provide a house, preferably a new house and a taller house. And also they need to pay bride price to bride parents after they make the deal. And also they need to cover a lavish wedding banquet, usually invite maybe 2,000, 3,000, about 200, 300 guests. And they need to prepare a large banquet. In the end, they need to throw away some of the leftovers to make sure they are rich. So you see all these kind of people, Chinese people, they like the face-saving behavior. And there's another anecdotal evidence I heard while I did my survey in Guizhou province. So this guy, 31 years old, both his younger brother and him have worked in Zhejiang province for 10 years. But he couldn't find a wife in Zhejiang. So he has asked marriage matchmakers in his hometown to find a wife, but couldn't succeed. The reason is he didn't own a house. So during the select season last summer, he went home, used all his savings to build a house. So I told him, I said, this doesn't make economic sense. You don't come back. You only come back in the new year. Why do you put all your savings to build a house? He said, I want to get married. And then he said he needs to save another 3 or 4 years to cover the bride price. In this area, it's about 3,000 a year. It's about 2 or 3 years net savings. So you can see the pressures. In this village, 30% of males couldn't, over 30 years old, are still single. But almost 100% females are married. And there's Chinese saying in this area, it's called, for women, 歪瓜裂枣也可以找到老婆，也可以嫁出去。歪瓜裂枣 means very ugly, small like a pear, looks ugly, disabled, but all of them can get married. But not for men. For this guy, he's still very strong and young, but it's very difficult for him. And there's another evidence also in the same village. The household head donate blood every 2 weeks, earning about $20, so-called nutrition subsidy for each donation. So he told me he used this money to buy the bricks, all the cement, all these construction materials for the house. You can see he's building a 3-story new house. And then for the nearby houses, if you go to the second floor, usually it's empty, no furniture at all. The only thing to build a second house is to show they are richer than their neighbors. It's more like Darwin's peacock tails. So it doesn't make economic sense for 3 reasons. First, the children, most of the young men, as Scott has shown, have migrated out. They only come back home to celebrate the Chinese New Year for maybe 2 weeks. And secondly, the village owns the land. There's no rural housing market at all. You cannot sell the house. Third, as Scott and his co-author wrote a very nice paper, they show that in the rural household, families spend most of their remittance on housing instead of productive investment, like investment on land or machinery. So we see a lot of waste in the economic investment. So from economic point of view, this behavior seems irrational. Now I move to the evidence part. I taught all the analytical evidence. So I want to present three sets of evidence. First is house and honey. So I want to see whether housing is a sorting variable in the marriage market or not. Who is more likely to remain unmarried? Secondly, I want to present some evidence to see who are more likely to own a bigger and more expensive house, whether they are related to local sex ratio or not. And the third, we present some general equilibrium effect, because all the first two parts is at the individual level. The third part, we present general equilibrium effect. We have two pieces of evidence. One is look at the housing market in 331 prefectures and 259 cities, based on the one population survey in 2005. And the second evidence is the housing market in 35 major cities from 2003 to 2009, published by China's National Statistics Bureau in the Chinese Statistical Yearbooks. Now first, just look at the simple graph. This graph plot the sex ratios against housing price. So we standardize both variables by detracted means divided by the standard deviation. This sex ratio variable is a sex ratio on the birth 18 years ago. And the housing price is the national price index deflated by national fixed asset price index. You can see both series show an upward trend from 1990 to 2010 in the 20 years period. And both series show a high degree of correlation. Of course, this is just subjective. Many other variables can show similar upward patterns and has co-movement with the housing price. So we need to show more evidence. So next piece of evidence, in this graph, we show the sex ratios and home price to income ratios. We calculate based on the 2005 1% population survey. So on the vertical axis is the ratio of home value to household income in 2005. The horizontal axis is sex ratio. So we present the graph for rural areas on the left-hand side and urban areas on the right-hand side. You see there's strong positive correlation between home price to income ratio to sex ratio. Similarly, we can look at another commonly used housing bubble variable measure, the home value to rent ratio. So the 2005 1% population survey asks the monthly rent too. So we can calculate the housing value to rent for each city or each prefecture, and then aggregate them up, calculate the average value for each basis point of the sex ratio. And you can see similar pattern. We observe a positive correlation between home value to rent ratio and the sex ratio in both rural areas and urban areas. Next, we want to show that home ownership plays a very important role in improving the marriage likelihood. So we run regressions for both men and women in rural areas and cities using the 2005 1% population survey. So the key variable of interest are the first two rows, a dummy variable for owning a house or apartment, and also an interaction term between housing value and the dummy for owning a house. For the first row, you can see clearly all the coefficients are negatively and significant. This means house ownership reduces the chance of not being married or improve the chance of a marriage. For the second column, if you look at the coefficient for single man, both of them are negative and significant. This suggesting among those who own a house, those who own a more expensive house are more likely to be success in the marriage market. In addition, we want to look at who want to own a bigger and more expensive house, who want to be a renter. So we run a series of top-weighted regressions. The dependent variables are holding values, holding space, and monthly rent. Because these variables are truncated, so we run the top-weighted regression. On the right-hand side, we are interested in the interaction between sex ratio and having a son aged 5 and 19. So you can see for the holding value and holding space, the first 4 columns, the coefficient for the indirect terms are significant and positive. This suggests families having a son, a combination of families having a son and living in a region with a more unbalanced sex ratio are more likely to own a bigger and more expensive house. And some people may argue this may measure some variables we don't observe. Maybe with these 2 factors, people just want to have more space. So you just capture that preference. So in the last 2 columns, we run a so-called placebo test. We run regression on the monthly rent. So if families prefer bigger space, they can, if they have higher income, they have the need, they can rent a big house too. But the coefficients are negative for the rent regressions. So that means it's the combination, the ownership indeed has an intrinsic value in the marriage market. Now I move on to the last part of the evidence on the general equilibrium effect. People may say you only look at subsample of your subgroup of your sample, total sample. There may be offsetting effect. Think about for family with sons, they may prefer to have a bigger house. My family with a daughter can use the money to save. Maybe they can have more bride price transfers. They can rent or they can do other things. They don't need to buy a bigger house. So on average, maybe they cancel out. Or another negative impact potential channel, like Hongbin Li and others have done a nice paper showing that in areas with higher sex ratio, there's higher crime rate. If there's higher crime rate, the holding value may be lower. So on average, we don't know what is the net impact. So in this regression, we look at the impact on holding value, holding space, holding price, measured in terms per square meters, and also the 2 bubble variables, value to rent ratio, value to income ratios. You can see all the variables. If you look at the first row, all the coefficients are significant. This means an increase in the sex ratio by 6 basis points in rural China would explain about 80% of the gap in house price to rent ratio between rural China and the US. About 25% between rural China and in the price to income ratio between the 2 countries. So we can also repeat similar analysis for urban China, urban housing market. The results are similar. And we can also do a placebo test to look at the relationship between sex ratios and the housing rental market. You can see the coefficient are negative as opposed to the positive, as we found in previous slides. So local sex ratio do not have a positive impact on rents. So in principle, with economic growth and the population growth, the rent will go up too. But here, after control for that, you see the interaction term have a negative impact. And now we move on to the last slide for the 35 big cities. we find exactly the same pattern, no matter we control for provincial or city fixed effects or year fixed effects. If you look at last column, you will find after we control for the city year fixed effects, both income and population variables become significant, but sex ratio variable remain very significant. This means that 30%, only 86% increase in sex ratio can account for about 30% of the real home price increase in the period from 2003 to 2009. So we also run the IV regression. This will give you a much higher estimate, explain 50% of the real home price increase. Now let me conclude. So ready need for housing as a result of income and population growth alone does not seem to be a complete explanation. I think the same factor should explain higher rental rates as well. We offer an alternative explanation, additional explanation, that is, as a result, the rising sex ratio imbalance, the more intense mating competition induce people to pursue even bigger and more expensive homes. So the arms race for bigger and more expensive homes may surprise the consumption and of non-positional good and create social welfare loss. So this maybe also explain China's unbalanced growth pattern, overinvestment, under consumption. So the problem may get worse as the sex ratio among the married cohort becomes increasingly more unbalanced in the next decade. Thank you.